Good evening and welcome to the Burnsville Planning Commission for Monday, December 10th. Call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Staff and commissioners, any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Commissioners, seeing none, I will ask for a motion.
I move to approve.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can use that. Item 2, approval of the minutes of the November 26th Planning Commission meeting. Any changes or corrections to the minutes? Staff?
None from staff.
None from staff, none from commissioners, and I will be abstaining as I was not at that meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 3, public hearing for United Properties on application for development stage planned unit development for an 18,500 square foot medical office facility for orthopedic injuries and facilitate patient recovery located at the intersection of Grand Avenue and 145th Street East. Ms. Steen.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. This particular property is located just east of I-35E and south of County Road 42. It's surrounded by B3 PUD to the north and to the west, and then R1 PUD to the south. We have, I would consider them detached townhomes. They're kind of a modified single-family neighborhood just to the south. And then immediately to the east, we have a Berean Baptist Church. The site's currently vacant, but you may notice some activity out on site. The project initially came in as a planned unit development for a senior housing development, and then on the lot 1 of the property and then lot 2, there was shown a concept medical office. The senior building is currently under construction. You'll see a lot of grading activity. In fact, even the lot, this lot 2 is also being graded as well. So just for a reference point, the PUD approval, which I'm showing here on the screen, shows the layout of the senior building. Again, you'll see a lot of activity there on site as you drive by. The proposed building was approved in more of a perpendicular to County Road 42 orientation and approved at approximately 15,000 square feet. Had this come in, either shown meeting all city code requirements in regards to setbacks, parking, landscaping, all those requirements, they could have potentially gone straight to building permit. But in this case, the applicant is requesting 2 deviations from city code in relationship to setbacks for parking and for the building. Just for reference, this is the approved senior building that's under construction. And then the new site plan orientation for the proposed medical building, opposed to the previous approval, which showed more of a perpendicular layout. This is more of a parallel layout to County Road 42 or Grand Avenue, which is the frontage road. The request is for a 1-story. Medical office is a permitted use within the zoning district. The proposal does meet parking on site. However, there's a joint access. There's a joint access drive. And also joint parking availability with the senior building. One of the conditions in the staff report is that a joint parking and access agreement be recorded on the property. Both parties have an active draft of that and will be recording should this get approved. A couple other things to point out. There is a proposed, so the use medical office, but it's really for orthopedic and physical therapy type use. And there's an outdoor physical therapy area on the north part of the building. There's bike parking that's proposed near the entrance of the building, and then sidewalk access from the Grand Avenue public sidewalk to the private development. The bike parking and the sidewalk element are certainly benefits. I should point out that the specific request exceeds landscaping requirements in respects to green space, building perimeter landscaping, and just overall mix of the proposed landscaping. The stormwater was handled through the previous planning and development that was approved recently. It is located on Lot 1. You kind of see the area just peaking here on the southeastern portion of the property. There is a joint agreement that will be recorded with the properties so that the medical office owner, United Properties, can access that stormwater system. The proposal, this is a rendering of what is proposed. The colors are complementary to the senior building, a lot of gray tones, and the flat roof, it does, although it's commercial in nature, staff felt it was a transition between the commercial areas to the north and then the more residential development to the south. One story does definitely help with that transition or that balance. A couple other things to point out. There's fabric awnings around some of the windows. High quality materials, which is a huge benefit. They've gone really above and beyond our minimum standards and really exceed our requirements on all four sides of the building. And then just the standard elevations, proposed landscape plan, grading plan if we need to reference. As pointed out before, there's two deviations that are requested. The first deviation is in regards to the setback to that front property line on the north. It's a 15.45 foot setback. The city code requirement's 30 feet. I do want to point out that a portion of that front setback, I measured to that minimum setback. So a majority of the building is 25 to 26 feet away. The way the street kind of curves and the position of the building, a majority of the building is actually greater than that 15, but that's the minimum. The other request is for the parking setback along the south elevation, the south portion of the property. It's just over 5 feet. Same thing with that setback. Because of the curve of the street and the layout of the parking, some of that parking is actually 9 feet away, and it does range as you're going along that front setback. There is quite a bit of right-of-way within that area, and we do have a code requirement that talks about parking of the business next to residential. We did point out in the report that the area to the south is heavily bermed, very mature trees, and the one housing unit that does abut a majority of their north part of their residence is garage on that side. So from a headlight screening standpoint, staff doesn't see any issues. Going back to the deviations, to allow for the building and the parking layout and all the landscaping, staff is in supportive of the request for the deviations. There are benefits. Some of these I already talked about, the green space, the architecture, the materials adds that transition. It's certainly in close compliance to the 2018 approval and then even a previous approval back in 2004. Medical office certainly will add to the economic city's tax base and bring additional employees to the area. With that, staff does recommend approval. Up on your screen, you'll notice that item number 1 is crossed out. Unfortunately, this is my mistake. This was a carryover from that earlier 2018 approval, and I neglected to take it out. So I want to make reference that that should be stricken from any vote. With that, if there are any questions, the applicant is in the audience, and I can be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dean. Commissioners, any questions?
I do have one.
Commissioner Henderson.
Just for my own knowledge, number 5 from the recommendations, what are some of the permits that they would need to get from MnDOT?
So with any submittal that's abutting a county road or a state highway, we always send out the plans to those agencies or watershed district or school district. And in this case, MnDOT replied, I don't know if permits would be necessary, but if they needed to access their land, their right-of-way, or close the street down and exit down, that they would have to go through MnDOT to receive those permits. It's pretty standard language in most applications that are adjacent to freeways.
Good, thank you.
This
Commissioner
is
Roberts.
just something, in the agenda that was sent out online that I looked at and everything. If you go back a slide to the picture that you have of the proposed front of the building, what you sent out, there was another photo directly below that was of a building that didn't look anything like this building. I'm just curious if that was a mistake that was sent out, or?
So I believe you're referencing, I didn't include it in my PowerPoint, but this is the view looking, let's say you're standing on 145th Street looking north. So you're standing at the residence looking north. This is the view. The other view was off of the freeway view, I believe.
Yeah, I figured out where it was. That's why I was just gonna ask, is it just a different color of a building that they accidentally put in there? It's not the building that we're looking at up above.
I believe it's just a different view of the building, and maybe the applicant can speak more
Yeah,
to
it
that.
might just be a design error or something, yeah, because it's definitely not that's facing north. I mean, theoretically, that side of the building is what we'd be looking at. It totally looks different than what we were looking at from above.
We'll have the
evening.
applicant, if you could introduce yourself for the record.
I will. Good evening, Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners. My name is Rick McKelvey with United Properties. I believe Commissioner Roberts, the view that you're looking at is of the gym. Yes, is of the gym portion, which is the all glass end cap on the building. So it's not brick. It is certainly possible that our renderer has the direction mistaken a bit, but
Okay.
that's the,
My guess was it was that side of the building,
Yeah.
but then all of a sudden it was on the wrong side of the map. So as long as you guys are good with that, I'm fine.
yes.
Okay.
We are.
Commissioners, additional questions? Now that the applicant is up here, additional questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for staff before we open the public hearing? All right, we'll open the public hearing at 6:43 PM. If there's anyone interested in speaking on this, please come forward and identify yourself for the record. All right, we will close the public hearing at 6:44. We'll round up. Commissioners, your pleasure. Or discussion. Commissioner
I
Roberts.
read that they did have a neighborhood meeting.
That's right. Ms. Dean, you've got
It
an
went well, I heard.
update on that.
Yep, that's correct. They did have a neighborhood meeting hosted here at City Hall. I believe 6 people attended the meeting. The proposal was very well received. The residents were happy to see a 1-story building, and the proposed user, as medical office, they didn't have any concerns with the proposal. They were happy to see Park Nicollet United Properties as a future user.
When you brought up the aspect of headlights into a house, I was curious if they were gonna show, but it sounds like it'd be a moot point. So, yeah.
And that's a good question because there's been a lot of activity in this neighborhood. So I will say, I think this project seems very well put together, and I appreciate the explanation on the deviations. At first, the 5.33 parking setback struck me as a big deviation, but when you look at the the positioning of the property, and I know that's been a tricky spot for folks in the past. But any additional questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Timmerman.
Just have a comment. I I think this looks like a nice property. I think Park Nicolet's been a good friend to Burnsville, and I like that it's making a transition with the one story, but it also, as our background spoke of, it's a building that could have future uses as well. So I think it's well thought out, and I would approve this.
Any additional comments or motions?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Workman.
it'd be my honor to recommend that the Planning Commission recommend to the City Council approval of the development stage PUD for an 18,550 square foot medical office building located at southeast of Grand Avenue and north of 145th Street East, subject to the following conditions, striking condition 1 from the record.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Additional comments? I'll just agree with Commissioner Timmerman. I think this is we discussed this somewhat in concept with the previous project, the senior housing there, so I think we were anticipating what was coming here, but I agree. It's particularly the medical use of it seems important to me. The community has really become a destination for medical and hospital services, and I think this is a good project, so I'll be voting in favor of it as well. Any additional comments before I call for a vote? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, gotta use the gavel, exciting. That brings us to, that will go to the City Council at their meeting on December 18th at 5:30 PM. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll move to item 4, updates. Ms.
Yes.
Dean.
We had a number of projects that were before City Council, that were before the Planning Commission, either at your previous meeting or the meeting before that. Buck Hill, City Council approved the project. They did have some changes to some of the recommendations, in particular to the hours of operation on the weekends until 10:30 PM. There was a condition regarding testing of the noise, projected noise. They approved the opportunity for Buck Hill to provide 3 different checks at 3 different points within the concert. 2 different points within the concert and then 1 at sound check. And then they struck a condition regarding the lighting altogether, and changed the notification from 350 feet of the project boundaries to 500 feet for a heads up to the neighboring residents. Again, that was approved. EFH, that was the variance for the parking. City Council approved that, as well as a variance for 1500 Joseph Street. That was a shoreline property. Healy Ramey, EAW. So that was, the guide plan change was before you. The EAW decision is somewhat related. Basically, they went through an environmental worksheet. The applicant and the city responded to questions received by outside agencies and neighbors. City Council passed a negative declaration on that. So what that means is EIS, so further environmental study is not required. We do anticipate that the developer will come in for an application sometime after 2019 for the first phase of that development. Let's see here, other items. Tomorrow, City Council has their work session at 5:30 PM. There will be an update on the County Road 42 Burnsville Center, Burnsville redevelopment master plan. So if you want to attend, you're more than welcome. You can also view it on our new website, burnsvillemn.gov, if you'd like as well. And then one more thing, there is a social gathering for the Planning Commission at Clive's Roadhouse at 13050 Aldrich. Members of the public are more than welcome to attend. That meeting is posted as well. So because we'll have potentially a quorum, we made sure that we noticed that as well. With that, I'll turn it over. I do have, sorry, one more thing. Here's the draft agenda for your next meeting, for most of you, on January 14th, so I'll pass that along.
Thank you. So this is the last meeting of the year for the Planning Commission. I want to, again, extend a congratulations to Council Member-elect Workman, who this is his last Planning Commission meeting, Chair Emeritus of the Planning Commission. Are there any comments I didn't really tell you I was good. Maybe you were planning
No.
this. I just kind of
I don't have a
am
prepared
filling
speech.
time.
I do want to thank Regina and Deb and Chris Lania and our past commissioners and our current commissioners. This has been really fun and enjoyable, and I would encourage anybody thinking about doing this to apply and give it a shot, because I've made a lot of friends and learned a lot in the
And a few
last 3
enemies.
years. Feels like just yesterday I was walking in here. It's weird to think I won't be, at least in this role anymore, so.
Maybe a couple seats down, I think, for the meetings
I
that
think
you'll
they're gonna put
come
me next
for
to the
me.
mayor, but
Probably give you the seat with, the chair with no
the
arms.
chairless seat. Let the hazing begin.
Any additional updates? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. See you on January 14th.